Hello, and thank you for joining me in this presentation. My name is Dr. Robert Bartosh of Proactive Wellness and Injury Center. And in this presentation, what I'd like to do is to discuss in a bit of detail the keto diet. Now, if you're not familiar with it, the ketogenic diet was the most popular diet that was searched on Google in 2018, and it's officially reached what I would term the mega fad status, not unlike the Atkins diet did in its heyday. Now, if you don't know what the ketogenic diet is, there are, in my humble estimation, probably 1.2 zillion articles about it on the internet, and you're going to be hearing about it undoubtedly for the next 10 years easily. So I'm not going to go into great detail in explaining it here, but basically, the ketogenic diet is a diet that's comprised of about 70 to 80% fat, and we're talking about good fats here, and moderate protein, and almost zero carbohydrates. Now, understand that a true ketogenic diet keeps your body in a state known as ketosis every moment of every day, 24/7, as they say. And it does require daily measurements of ketone levels in your urine. Now, ketosis, understandably, is very, very difficult to maintain, and the term ketogenic diet is now used widely, and it's used, I think, by misinformed people who are actually eating uh, low-carb diets without being in ketosis. Now, if you think you're eating a ketogenic diet, if you've already started that, and you're not monitoring your ketone levels, then frankly, you probably aren't eating a ketogenic diet. Uh, Now, before I get into the research or talk more about the ketogenic diet, I want to say this, that obesity is the second leading cause of cancer. Let me repeat that, please. Obesity is the second leading cause of cancer. So if you're overweight, getting back down to a healthy weight range with a normal BMI for you would improve your health and reduce your risk factors for cancer and for many other chronic diseases. And I've never met a doctor in all of my years of practice, or a health expert for that matter, who didn't agree with that statement. Okay? Now, also, I want you to know that it can be said that every weight loss method improves various aspects of your health in short term. Now, typically, the improvements related to weight loss are reductions in inflammation or hormone levels, the changes in blood pressure, cholesterol, blood glucose, and even in many instances, the reversal of type 2 diabetes, and much, much more. Now, also, I have to tell you this, that there is no, and that's an absolute term, no, there is no population of people on Earth who eat a ketogenic diet and have exceptional health and long lifespans. Even the Inuits, the Eskimos, who are known for eating high-fat diets, are not in ketosis. And as a matter of fact, they have short lifespans to boot. So that's really not a population that you want to emulate here. However, there is tremendous value in short-term ketosis when you're on a ketogenic diet, if indeed you get into ketosis. Now, the natural process of a ketosis, induced by a 3 to 5 day water fast, it has powerful benefits in the body, including autophagy, as well as stem cell activation and immune system regeneration. Those are very, very important things to understand. But as with anything, there is a right way and there is a wrong way of doing it. And in my observation, what I've seen is most of the people that right now are on a so-called ketogenic diet are doing it the wrong way. So with that, what is a ketogenic diet then? Well, a ketogenic diet or a keto diet, as many are calling it, is a very low-carb diet, which turns the body, I should say, into a fat-burning machine. As I alluded to before, it's 70 to 80% high-quality fat and a moderate amount of proteins, and it's absolutely no or low carbohydrates. But it is proven many, many benefits for weight loss, health, and performance. Now, ketones themselves are very small molecules, and they're produced in the liver, and they're used as fuel throughout the body. Now, on a ketogenic diet, what happens is that your entire body switches its fuel supply to run almost entirely, and that's important to understand, it run almost entirely on fat. Now, the insulin levels, that's a hormone that the body produces in order to gauge and to orchestrate the amounts of glucose or sugar in the blood. This hormone level becomes very low and fat burning increases dramatically. And the reason it becomes low is because there's no sugar now to modulate. So it becomes easy to access your fat stores to burn them off when your body's in ketosis. And this is obviously great if you're trying to lose weight. But there are also other less obvious benefits, and I want you to know about them, such as less hunger and a steady supply of energy. Okay? So now what I'd like to do, I hope that you understand what a ketogenic diet is to look a little bit closer into what is involved in losing the keto way, okay? Now, the number one reason why people choose a ketogenic diet today, frankly, is to lose weight. And by limiting carbohydrates and sugars, the body will invariably burn fat faster. Now, according to the Obesity Medicine Association, and there is one, and that's what they're called, they state that what makes a ketogenic diet, a successful option for losing weight is that when the body uses fat for fuel instead of carbohydrates, it puts the body into a state of ketosis that allows the body to break down fat into ketones. And it's that the energy it's that which is used by the body for energy, and it shifts the fuel source from sugar to fat, and that produces the weight loss. Now, that's it. That's how it works in a nutshell. It curbs the appetite. As I alluded to a few moments ago, one of the other benefits is that it does curb your appetite, because the benefit of this diet is that a low-carb diet is more likely to curb hunger cravings than are often associated with dieting. See, after a couple of days, if you get on the ketogenic diet, you're going to find that you're absolutely in control of your appetite, and it's not controlling you so that you're craving this and craving that. And that's because once your body's 2-day supply of glycogen, which is the stored sugar, the glucose, once it diminishes and your body makes the switch to primarily burning fat, lipolysis or lipolysis suppresses your appetite. Now, to better understand what lipolysis or lipolysis is, or what the suppression of that is, it means that when your energy needs increase or your blood glucose levels fall, when the sugar in your blood reduces, then the production of hormones that mobilize your energy stores, they start to rise. See, those are going to your energy storehouses. And these hormones that I mentioned one before is with insulin, but in this particular case, hormones such as glucagon and adrenaline, they stimulate the lipolysis or the lipolysis, which involves the breakdown of triglycerides that are stored in your fat tissue. This is what's going on chemically inside your body. Now, cutting back on those cravings is a definite plus when you're trying to lose those extra pounds, and I'm sure you'd agree with that. And I'm going to show you some ways that you can go ahead and get that and start doing that as well. But before we do that, I want to talk about also reducing the risks, all right? So we're going to do that now, because I said in addition to the weight loss, a ketogenic diet reduces the risk of type 2 diabetes and also heart disease. And if you are a female listening to this, I want you to know that in the United States, the number one cause of death of women in the United States is heart disease. And that's an alarming fact, because for many, many, many years, the male counterpart held that dubious honor. However, it shifted quickly. And I don't want to digress too much, but one of the reasons is because women have been told to take calcium, and calcium not taken in conjunction with vitamin D3 and vitamin K1 and 2 is not absorbed by the body and contributes to atherosclerosis and heart diseases. And women are taking calcium now by the droves, especially the number one consumer in the world is the American female. And because of that and the fat phobia, those things and a few other things have given rise now to the fact that women are number one, the number one cause of death in a woman is heart disease. So this will help out. Now, when we consume carbohydrates, I'll get back on course here. And thank you for allowing me to digress for a moment. But when we consume the carbohydrates, what's happening here is the body is going to produce higher levels of blood glucose. That's a blood sugar, which in turn now is going to promote higher insulin production. That hormone is going to be in greater demand by the body, and the body's going to produce more of it. But if you eliminate the carbohydrates from your diet, the body no longer stores the sugar. It doesn't store the glucose, and it's preventing the body then from producing too much insulin. The body's not going to need to do that. So therefore, your blood sugar levels are going to be maintained at optimum levels that your body's going to determine. And this, in fact, can help reverse insulin resistance, which is one of the contributing factors in diabetes. Because people eat so much sugar with the standard American diet, so much sugar is consumed that the body overproduces the insulin in order to store it, to get the glucose out of the blood and into the cells. It produces so much of the insulin that the body develops a resistance to it. And that is one of the segues right into developing type 2 diabetes. Well, anyway, despite the ketogenic diet being high in fat, the diet has also proven to reduce heart disease markers like high cholesterol. Your cholesterol levels will reduce if you're on a ketogenic diet, as well as your triglycerides. They will also reduce while you're on a ketogenic diet. And in addition, what it's going to do is it's going to raise the good cholesterol levels. And the purpose of this presentation isn't to get into, to delve into that any deeper than that, other than just stating the facts that the high cholesterol is going to reduce, the triglycerides are going to reduce, and it's going to raise the good cholesterol levels, such as the HDL and the ratios as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to find out how we can start, or how you can start living in this keto lifestyle. Okay, now when you do this, however, I want you to understand, as I said earlier, that you cannot remain in ketosis 24/7. You cannot do it for long periods of time. However, if you want to go in and go out, and go in and go out, that's totally acceptable. But again, let's be realistic here. You have to get into ketosis. You have to maintain ketosis for a period of time, and that's by monitoring the ketones in your urine. And then you have to give the body a break from time to time, because there's no population on the face of the earth that lives continually in ketosis. It just can't be done. Okay, so with that, then we got to look at what's on the menu then. All right, now that hopefully you understand what a ketogenic diet is, and we've gone over some of the benefits, let's get into what foods you're allowed to eat on the diet. Okay, so some of the foods, now this is not exclusively all of the foods, but this is the main, or the majority of the foods, I should say. Okay, now these are the acceptable foods, some of the ones I have pictured here. Okay, so non-starchy vegetables. Non-starchy vegetables are acceptable. Berries are acceptable. And of course, the darker the berry, the more nutritious it's going to be. And that's true with all whole foods. The darker the food, the more nutrients that particular food has. Okay, and then also meats. Now, I know that red meats have been poo-pooed and they've been lambasted, but if you're getting grass-fed organic meats, very, very good for you. Very good proteins. Now, also the organ meats. And I remember the day when people used to eat liver and onions. I don't know that many people do that much anymore, but that's the organ meats are very, very good. Peas and green beans. Yeah, who would have ever thought that peas? But peas indeed are acceptable on the keto diet, and green beans. The healthy fats. And by healthy fats, I don't want you to be confused here. But what I'm talking about are like ghee, coconut oil, olive oil, avocados, macadamia oil, hemp seed oil, those types of fats. You want the saturated fats. And again, I don't want to get off course here, but those are the kinds of fats. You don't want to eat the trans fats or the hydrogenated oils, which are, you don't want to eat those. And when you see those on a label, you want to just put it down and keep on moving, picking something else up instead of that. Also limes, lemons, the butters, the nut butters are very, very good, as are the nut milks, like the uh, almond milks, the coconut milks, even the rice milk. I'm not a proponent of soy milk at all, but the nut butters and the nut milks are very good. The bone broth, it's one of my faves. Homemade bone broth is really good. I don't recommend, and I know I get off every once in a while, but I feel it's necessary. I don't recommend the bone broth powders, because many of them have been found to be contaminated. They have heavy metal toxicity. They have other components in them that some of the bone broth has been found to have growth hormone in it, antibiotics, because some of the sources from which the bone has come have not been scrutinized, and they aren't grass-fed or organic or whatever the case may be. So if you are one who purchases the bone broth in a powdered form, then I would recommend strongly that you do research on the company from which you're getting it, because much, if not most, of the stuff that you purchase over the internet is junk. Another thing, if you're getting bone broth through your through another source like a farmer, you want to make sure that the cattle from which those bones are coming are grass-fed, non-GMO, and they aren't chemicalized at all. Okay, so again, you have to check your sources. Vinegars, organic apple cider vinegar is very good. Nuts and seeds, herbs, spices, all of those are things that are acceptable and included on a ketogenic diet, or that you can include. Now that we talked about some of the things that you can include, let's hit on what to ditch, okay? So we're going to look at that. These are some of the things that you need if you are truly wanting to get on a bona fide, honest-to-goodness ketogenic diet. Then these are the things you have to remove from your diet. One of which is sugar, and I'm talking about all sugars. You have to eliminate white sugar, fructose, high fructose corn syrup, honey, glucose, brown syrup, lactose, maple syrup, agave, even coconut sugar. All of the sugars, you've got to eliminate them from your diet. You also have to ditch all the grains, the wheat, the flour, the white flour, the quinoa, the rye, couscous, rice, wheat flour, oats, barley, cornmeal, corn. You've got to eliminate corn, rice flour, millet, bran, buckwheat, all of those, you've got to eliminate them, remove them from your diet. And also most fruits, especially the canned fruits. You've got to get rid of the canned fruits. Apples, oranges, pears, peaches, pomegranate, grapes, watermelon, cantaloupe, kiwi, dates, what else? Bananas, cherries, mangoes, apricots, papaya, figs. You've got to eliminate those fruits in particular, most of the fruits. Now, I know this is confusing because you may have grown up and were told the fruits and veggies were good and this and that. Well, look, we're not talking about that type of eating. We are talking about a ketogenic diet, one that puts the body into ketosis. In order for that to occur, you must eliminate those fruits from your diet. And then, of course, as far as the drinks, all the foods, all the processed foods, the microwavable foods, the canned, the easy mixed foods, all the processed foods have to be eliminated. And the sodas, doesn't matter if it's a regular or a diet soda, especially the diet. Well, I can't say especially because you've got to eliminate all the sodas. And the juices, any fruit juices, and also alcohol, all right? Now, if you want a more exhaustive list, a more complete list, then what I might suggest you do, I have a friend, Louise Hedren, and you can go to the Keto Summit, I believe is her website, the Keto Summit, and you can find a lot of valuable information there. She's done a bang up job. She's got books, recipes, all kinds of things. You can certainly continue your research on what you can and can't do by going to her website. Okay, you can get it there. And again, I think it's called ketosummit.com. Keto Summit, all one word, .com. All right. Okay. So now I want to go ahead because this is absolutely positively necessary to debunk the myths, because there are a lot of myths. You know, there are a lot of naysayers out there and experts, and you're going to read from different websites and whatnot that these pundits are going to be saying this and that. Well, I'm here to tell you the truth, and I'm obligated to do so. So I want you to know, as with any diet, there's always the naysayers or people that just have honest questions that will arise. You know what I mean? So I want again, just take a look at a few of these myths out here, okay? All right. So myth number one, and I've jumped it here, and I've got to go back to this one here, the myth here. The first myth is your brain needs glucose to maintain a healthy function, and a ketogenic diet doesn't provide that. Well, true and not true. It doesn't provide glucose to maintain a healthy function. What I mean is the ketogenic diet doesn't provide glucose. However, the brain doesn't need absolutely glucose to maintain a healthy function. My forte, many of the teachings that I do for organizations throughout, I show that indeed the truth is that most people are aware that the brain is powered by glucose, but very, very few are aware that it also runs, or it can run, on ketones, and that ketones actually burn more efficiently with less waste in the brain. And once your body has become fully keto adapted, when you're in ketosis, the brain in actuality will get over 75% of its energy from the ketones, and the remaining 25% or less that it needs, it'll get by glucose, which can be obtained by your body by processing certain dietary proteins, carbs, because the carbohydrates aren't necessary for this process. What many people don't realize is that many proteins that are not utilized by the body, this just basically, what the body does is when you eat a food, it's going to disassemble the food, it's going to take it apart, and then it's going to reassemble it according to its need at the time. So that is true even of the proteins. Proteins aren't single food items. They are complex. A piece of meat, the body will take apart that piece of meat. If you eat an egg, it'll take apart the egg. If you eat chicken, and on and on and on it goes. Now, whatever the body doesn't use of those proteins, then it's going to convert to sugar. It will convert the protein to sugar, okay? So getting back to the brain, if you're in ketosis, the body will use the fats primarily in order to operate the brain. And then if there's any additional need at the time, it'll use the glucose that it has converted from the protein that you've eaten out of the ketogenic diet, because it won't need the carbs to do that, okay? And then also, the brain you become more attuned, more you operate, whatever it might be, in cognitive functions or performance through my athletes or whatever. You're going to function a little bit more at a higher level, much more efficiently, and your body's going to burn much less waste material produced because of that, okay? But as I said earlier, you can't live on a ketogenic diet exclusively all the time. See, you have to you have to pause and bounce back and forth. Anyway, myth number 2. A ketogenic diet, it's stated, this is the myth, that it's not nutritionally sufficient for proper vitamin absorption, and it can result in dangerous vitamin deficiencies. Now, these myths that I'm sharing with you, I have gotten off of different research papers, different sources and whatnot that I've read in my research and my studies and that. And I've kind of put together the top ones that are the most prevalent and popular. So in the first myth was that your brain needs absolutely glucose in order to function. That's a myth. And it can't function on ketones, which it can. And the myth number 2 is that a ketone diet, if you're on that, is not nutritionally sufficient. It doesn't provide the vitamins that you need. And as a result, it can result in a dangerous vitamin deficiency. Well, the truth is, in practice, if you get on a ketogenic diet, you'll probably consume more vitamins and minerals on a ketogenic diet than you did prior to that, especially if you were on the standard American diet, the acronym of which is SAD. And because when you're on a ketogenic diet, of necessity, you're going to be having to eat whole foods. Remember the process where you get rid of, you can't do that. You're going to be eating natural fats, the high quality meats, and even leafy green vegetables that have protein sources that are not packaged. You're not going to be eating the packaged food, the low carb junk. You're not going to be eating any of that while you're on a ketogenic diet. So therefore, as a fact, you're going to be getting much, much more nutritional value out of the foods that you are eating while on a ketogenic diet. Okay, so now we'll move to myth number 3. And that is, according to what I've seen, is a ketogenic diet raises your cholesterol level, which could increase the risk of heart disease. Okay, well, this is probably, in my estimation, I think this is the biggest myth associated with the low-carb ketogenic diet because it's based on the lie. Let me repeat that. It's based on the lie, not a lie, but the lie that saturated fat and cholesterol cause arteriosclerosis and heart disease. And that one I want to repeat because it's alive and it's well in our society. This lie is that saturated fat, many people believe that saturated fat and cholesterol cause arterial sclerosis and heart disease. Now, listen, there has never is another absolute term, there has never been any scientific study published or unpublished for that matter, which links cholesterol and saturated fat to heart disease. And I don't want to get into it any further other than just stating to you, and believe me when I tell you, there's never been any scientific study that's been published that links cholesterol and saturated fat to heart disease. Of course, now when I talk about the fats, I'm talking about the best fats, and those fats that we're talking about, they come from the nuts, from the nut butters, and I shared that with you earlier, but it's worth repeating. The seeds, avocados, the clean oils like the coconut and the macadamia, the hemp seed oil, the olive oil, salmon, other lean meats as well. So that's what you want to do. If you're getting on a ketogenic diet, you got to focus on those kinds of fats, okay? All right. Now, another question that comes up is, are there any side effects? Absolutely. For every action, there's always an equal and an opposite reaction. And so it is with the ketogenic diet. Now, understandably, when you're making the switch, if you have been on the standard American diet, which is overwhelmingly carbohydrates, and all carbohydrates, ALL, all is absolute, all carbohydrates are sugars. If you're making the switch from a diet that's really overwhelmed or has a vast majority of it made up of carbs and very little proteins, and you're going to a low carb diet like the ketogenic diet, you've got to understand that your body's going to need a little time to adjust to your new eating habits because there's a There's a switch that's taking place from one fuel source to another. There are cravings that are going to just, scream at you. It's going to be uncomfortable indeed. So because the SAD diet, Standard American, because it's higher in carbohydrates, the body is going to need an opportune time to go ahead and prepare itself to live now, to switch over to a ketogenic diet, which is a diet without the carbs, okay? Now, this adjustment period where you're going from one to another, this period is known as the keto flu. That's what the symptoms that are exhibited by the body are known as the keto flu, And for most people that I've seen or worked with, it typically lasts for about a week or even 2 or more weeks for some, depending upon, their history, their background. But it can last that long. And what you can expect to experience, not that you will, but if you do experience them, I want you to know what it's due to, that you're not alarmed. And it just comes with the territory, so to speak. But you can expect the fatigue to happen, you can experience fatigue, have the sugar cravings because, you're going to be going without carbohydrates, which are sugar. The body's going to be saying, I want it, I need it. You're going to have these sugar cravings. You may experience dizziness, difficulty focusing, or what people commonly call brain fog. You'll experience, or you can experience, I should say, nausea, difficulty getting to sleep, because you may have some hunger pangs in the beginning, and you want to fight and you want to get up, and that because the hormones are changing over as well. And then also, I probably everybody that switches, you're going to experience irritability. You're going to get grumpy, maybe moody, and you're going to be irritable because you want to eat, and you look around and you see others that are eating, and you may even get angry or upset or whatever. And then if somebody close to you comes up and says, hey, you might even snap at them. And that, not that you would, but if you do, you can blame it on the switch. You can blame it on the ketogenic diet, right? Okay. So when that happens, then what are you going to do? Especially, Doc, how do I survive the first week? Well, there are ways that you can combat the keto flu, and one of the ways, believe it or not, is just add more fats to your eating. That's what you want to do, because when you do that, that's going to give your body the added energy it needs while it makes the conversion, while your body's changing over from glucose to using ketones for fuel. So you can add, more fats. You can also add more calories. Now remember, and that's like hypocrisy here or something. Oh my gosh, how can I? But remember, you're coming off of a high carb diet for the most part. That's what you're doing, a lot of calories. So you're going to need some added calories as you transition to the leaner foods, especially if you're an active individual. By active, I mean you're up and about, you're moving through your environment, you're exercising and whatnot. So you may need to add more calories. Now, when you think calories, you think fruit or carbs, but hey, you can add the calories can come via the fats and the proteins as well. All right. Then also add, now I'm going to clarify this one, add more salts, because I'll tell you why. Your insulin level, that hormone level, is going to drop on the ketogenic diet. And when it does so, your body will not retain the excess water. You're going to start, boom, you're going to start dumping water. That means you're going to lose the sodium. Okay. Now, this is why a lot of those diets that you see in the infomercials and on TV, you're going to lose 6 to 10 pounds. And you'll hear the testimonial that they lost that in the first week. Well, they lost it because they lost a lot of water. They lost a lot of the sodium. And as a result of losing the water weight, the body flushed out a lot of the minerals, one of which is sodium. And sodium is very, very important. So, and I'll touch on this in a moment, because the salt and sodium aren't necessarily the same thing. The salt that many practitioners tell their patients to abstain from or get off from or make it taboo, is the junk on the table salts. What I'm telling you to add, and I want to stop for a moment because I need to make a disclaimer here. I'm not treating any diseases here by what I'm saying to you, nor am I diagnosing you at all. I am just simply telling you that as a result of being on a ketone, uh, in attempting to get to ketogenesis and making the changes, your body will lose a lot of water. And as such, when it dumps the water, it's going to lose sodium. So now what we want to do is we don't want to replace table salt. We want to replace sodium. So so in order to do that, you can use Celtic sea salt or Himalayan pink salt, either one. They are, especially the Himalayan pink. It's a compilation of over 86 or 88 minerals, trace minerals that are perfectly balanced with one another. The sodium, potassium, it's perfectly balanced by the good Lord himself when he created it. So what you can do is, you want the unprocessed, the raw, Celtic or the Himalayan. So you're going to have to grind it. But you want to grind maybe about a quarter to a half a teaspoon of the Himalayan pink in the morning, and mix that half or quarter to a half teaspoon of that Himalayan pink in a glass of water and drink that. That's going to replace a lot of the nutrients that the body is losing initially, and it's very, very good for you, okay? Also with that, you want to drink enough water, because due to the water loss from your body, you may experience headaches, you can experience the fatigue or the nausea the first few days. So you want to make certain that you're drinking enough water, okay? Uh, those are some of the ways that you can get through the first week or two without experiencing, or at least reducing, some of these keto flu symptoms that you may experience, okay? All righty. Now, one of my faves is to add some warm nourishment. And a good way to get many of the nutrients that you're going to need in that first week is to drink a nice, warm bone broth. And that bone broth is going to provide the fat. It's going to give you the calories. Remember I said you got to increase your calories, and the salts, because in our bone broth, what we do is we use not only the salt from the animal, from the bone, from itself, but also from the mineral. We get the Himalayan. We sprinkle that in there. And also you're going to get the water to your diet to help you carry through that first week. And I'll tell you, once you start tasting a good quality bone broth, it's going to carry you not only through the first week, you're going to want it more and more and more often. It's really, really good for you. Really, really good for you. Okay? All right. So that's what you want to do. And those are some of the things, now that you've started the ketogenic diet, and you're already into the first or second week, and you're fighting those keto flu-like symptoms, you are well on your way, okay? That's a ketogenic diet. Now, if you have chosen to get on it and you have been on it a while, I want you not to forget to celebrate the victories that you're going to be seeing. What are the victories? Well, one of the victories is you've switched from a SAD diet to a ketogenic diet. That's standard American. Another victory is that your food choices are of a higher quality, where you're choosing whole foods, grass-fed beef. You're looking at you're incorporating into your foodstuffs the good fats, the avocados, cooking instead of, listen now, don't cook with vegetable oil, canola oil, peanut oil, cauliflower. Canola oil, corn oil. None of those oils. They're junk oils. They're not good for your body. What you want to cook with are going to be the coconut oil or the olive oil, or a combination of both. And eat the butter. Eat the organic butters. Buy that and eat the butter. Don't eat the stinking margarine at all. But do that. That's another victory. See, you're drinking more water now. That's another victory. You're up and you're more energetic. So I'm sure that you're going to start to express life much more and enjoy life much more. That's another victory. And of course, when you get on your scale, you're going to notice that the numbers are going to start to reduce. That needle's going to go to the left, or the numbers will go lower and lower, however your scale is set up. And if you're a lady listening to this presentation, you're going to be fully aware of the fact that your clothes now are fitting better. They're not as tight as they were. They're a little bit more saggy and droopy, which is delightful. And you're going to be able to go to lower sizes as well. And look, the bottom line again is this: if you lose weight, you're going to be healthier. You're on your way now to reducing the incidence of any diseases forming, in particular type 2 diabetes, various types of cancers, and if you're a female especially, the heart disease as well, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to celebrate during your journey your successes, and because what you're doing now, if you get into the ketogenic diet, it's not an easy thing, and there are a lot of struggles along the way, and there's a lot of naysayers in that. So if you're committed to it and you're doing it, then doggone it, you need to reward yourself and celebrate these moments. Be aware of them, because memories are composed of moments, and you're going to look back and you're going to have some good memories as you remember, man, this moment and that moment, and I got through it in this challenge, but I had victory over it. So that's what you're going to want to do. Okay. All right. So now you're off and running, because we've covered a lot here in this presentation, and admittedly you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but look, you have got this. You can do this. You watch this presentation for a reason, maybe not just to be educated, but to act upon the information you got, to make yourself more informed, so that you can make better decisions on the food you eat, that's going to turn into better health for your body, better well-being, and longer days, so you are on your way of making a difference in your life. And my hope is that what you learned in this presentation has provided you with what you were in need of in order to get you started. And look, for having watched the presentation all the way to this point, because some will turn it off earlier, but since you've stayed with it all the way through, if you do have any additional questions, if there's any way that my office can be of service to you, I invite you to contact us, let us know what the issue is, and we're here to serve you in any way we possibly can. Remember now, you've got to remain proactive in order to enjoy the best performance of your life. Okay? Thank you again for watching. God bless you, and take care now. Enjoy this life that you have.